One plant that you've probably heard about before is poison ivy. So we're going to do a really quick how to identify poison ivy experience with the help of this stick with some foliose lichen on it, because I don't feel like touching this poison ivy. Now, as we're looking at this dead pine tree, you'll notice a plant growing on it. This plant has leaflets in groups of 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. Oh, somebody ate this leaflet. 3, 3, 3. You're not seeing it in groups of any more than 3, even though sometimes you're seeing it in less, either because a leaflet fell off or because it was damaged in another way. Now, these 3 leaflets are very distinctive of poison ivy. You'll see also there's sort of a pointed tip to the leaf, as well as a lobed shape. Poison ivy leaves can be lobed or smooth. They can be pointed or sort of rounded at the tip, but they're never going to have sharp looking serrated edges. Now, the reason I'm not touching this poison ivy is because of the chemical urushiol in it, which will cause a reaction in most people. About 80% of people have a contact dermatitis, a skin allergy reaction to urushiol. About 20% of people have a really bad reaction to it, which is part of why I'm not touching it. Urushiol is found not only in poison ivy, but also in your poison oak, your poison sumac, and surprisingly enough, mangoes. So you look at the leaves for identification. You also look at the stem. The stem of this poison ivy is going to have sort of hairs on it that attaches it to the tree. No matter how big it gets, you're going to see these big vines with these hair-like roots attaching it to a tree. There's a really good example way up there. A lot of hairs sticking it strongly to this tree so that it can hold on there. Now, poison ivy does not always grow on trees. You'll see it just sort of sticking up out of the ground a lot of times, like this here, this one here. But look for those 3 leaves, sort of a reddish stem usually, and frequently the young leaves will be red as well. And look around. If you see some poison ivy in an area, you'll probably see a lot more. If you do get poison ivy on your hands, well, urushiol is an oil, and the best way to get rid of oil is to wash your hands with hot, soapy water. Remember, if you are washing your whole body with hot, soapy water after you maybe fall in a poison ivy patch, make sure you're getting rid of that washcloth or loofah or whatever it is that you're using to scrub yourself, because this oil will stick to the fabrics that you're using. Any fabric that gets in contact with it is going to need a lot of soap to get that clean. Now, a plant which does frequently get mistaken for poison ivy is the Virginia creeper. As you notice when you look at the vine though, this Virginia creeper here has leaflets in groups of 5, not 3. It can vary slightly depending on certain conditions, but in general they have leaflets in groups of 5. They do have a sort of reddish stem. They're not nearly as red as the poison ivy. And if you look at the end of the attachments coming out of the vine, you'll see that they're attached to the tree with little suckers. They've got these sort of rounded, sticky tips at the end of the attachment points that hold onto the tree. They do not have the same toxins that cause reaction in poison ivy. So they are kind of a poison ivy look-alike, except they have different amounts of leaves, different colorations on the stem, and different sort of attachment. For the most part, you don't have to worry too much about poison ivy. Just keep your eyes open for it. Don't go touching plants that you're not familiar with, and especially stay clear of any plants that have these 3 leaves coming off, little red stems coming off alternately at the stem. Just keep your eyes out for them. Don't mess with them and you should be fine.